Hello, we are live now. My worst nightmare just happened. I started streaming like 10 minutes ago, and then a bug decided to walk into the screen. Now, if you are from Texas like I am, it is bug season. It's getting very warm, and I'm not looking forward to it. That's just life sometimes in Texas. I honestly like there was a point in time where I did not live in Texas, and I really thoroughly enjoyed not having so many bugs during the summer and the spring. And yeah, I had to take care of it, and then I deleted the video because I will not have anybody see that. That was highly embarrassing, and I'm kind of regretting saying that on camera right now. Anyway, so welcome, welcome. Hi, what's up? Hello. This is kind of a casual, impromptu video. I did not expect to go on today, and this is not a recap. This is not a recap of the entire week. Now, we may have only 2 weeks of recaps at this point, or I guess week 3. But um, if you were not aware, Lori Vallow-Daybell, or okay, the prosecution in Lori Vallow-Daybell case has rested, as well as Lori Vallow-Daybell, with a question mark behind it, because even though she did rest and did decide to rest, she was going to rest and then rest in front of the jury. Detective, oh my god, Judge Borevsky said, "Well, you know what? If you rest today in front of the jury, and you decide you want to testify on Monday, which is the next day that court's going to happen, or you want to bring a witness up, you can't go back." And she, I think, thought about it for a little bit and was like, you know what, maybe. Um, I'm also kind of suspecting that maybe, okay, listen, I don't know. It's it's kind of 50-50 with my belief of how intelligent Lori is. I don't think she's that intelligent, but I do think that she's very conniving. There's an intelligence to being a scammer. I think she has a formula. Um, and so I can only assume and not give her the benefit of the doubt when she kind of decided, like, no, I'm gonna wait. I might testify just to maybe give her more time. Because if the so now closing statements are gonna be on Monday. Um, and if she has the 4-day weekend to um think about it, she could, you know, maybe scrounge up a witness. At this point, as you know, every single witness that she has called or tried to call has not been subpoenaed. The only people that have been subpoenaed are the victims in this case, or Larry Woodcock and Bobby Vallow, the brother of um, Charles Vallow, were both subpoenaed to testify, which has violated the victims' rights laws. And she said it was a mistake, which I did not. Okay, you know what? Maybe I'll get into that in the actual recap. Um, I'm going off on tangents. Like I said, kind of treat this as a more casual um, live, and I think that whole big bug situation is just kind of proof that this is more casual than my previous video. So yeah, anyway, this is more like of a have a cup of tea and chat because I just finished watching the trial today. I'm a little late. Like I said, I work most of the day, and then when I get home, I try to catch up, listen to things on 1.5 speed. Kind kind of hard to listen to things on 2 times speed because sometimes I cannot hear what people are saying. So yeah, I just finished and I talked to my mom about it, and I was like, you know what? Let's talk on YouTube. So I don't know. This is kind of like a reaction, not really reaction. Um, I honestly like in the beginning, if you were to tell me that this supposedly 6-week case, or 6-week trial was going to only last for 2.1 weeks, I wouldn't have believed you. Now, I guess the other thing is deliberation because this is a conspiracy case, could take a little bit longer. I don't know. What are your thoughts about that? I honestly don't. I would love to be a fly on the wall in that jury room. I honestly wish that now I doubt that this I'm sure this violates a lot of rights. But I really wish there was, like, maybe some sort of audio recording of jury's deliberation. Now I know that that might not be fair or safe for the jury, but, I don't know. I'm just curious to know, like, what goes on. Also, another question I had, because I was just thinking about the fact that, so Lori, you know what? Let's go through this a little bit more. Let's slow down. Let's start with the beginning of trial. Now, like I said, I will do more of a recap later on. I don't have any notes right now. But the one and only witness, and I believe the last witness for the prosecution, was Detective Duncan. I don't know his first name. But he is the case agent on this case particularly. I believe he testified in either Chad or Lori's case. I need to go back and like watch them. Lori's case is a little bit harder because it was only audio. And Chad's like, there's just so much to that case, that trial, that like people's names just like kind of jumped up in my head. But I believe he was in one of those cases. And he was kind of the one who tied this whole case into a little bow. We saw the Nephi text, the famous Nephi text that Trina K, prosecutor, put in her opening statements, that tomorrow I will be like Nephi, which if you don't know, Nephi, the story of Nephi is the fact, and now listen, Lori tried to refute this, and I'm not saying this verbatim, I'm not, like Lori would probably object to me saying all of this, but basically the gist was that Nephi needed to get some brass plates from this commander called Laban. Laban was drunk one day and he asked God, or Nephi asked God, I really need these plates. And I believe they were attempting for quite a few days to unalive Laban. He finally got his chance and God was like, you know what? It's a perfect opportunity for you to decapitate him with his own sword. So that's what he did. And he got the plates and he assured his descendants into Jerusalem, I believe. Maybe as a former person who like studied religion, maybe I should know this a little bit more. But again, Lori, do not hold me to this. But yeah, that's kind of the gist. It's justified unaliving by God. God said he could do it. They gave him permission. They gave him the little, check mark the box. They said, okay, approved. Here's your assurance into the city of Jerusalem. So yeah, we saw those texts. We saw Lori tell that to Alex. She said, it's all coming to a head. I believe that's what she said. She said, tomorrow I will be like Nephi and you too. So she was basically kind of saying that, it's time. God has said it's time. And I don't know what the brass plates would ensure. I think maybe she was trying to ensure that her people, quote unquote, that she could marry Chad Daybell, get some money, and then usher the 144,000 into the end times, into heaven or whatever she believed. But yeah, so we saw the Nephi text. We also saw the flirty text messages between Lori and her Bubby. Bubby, we've now unlocked a new Chad nickname. We have the Slug. We have the Storm, unfortunately. James. Some people call him Chud. Yeah, there's just so many names. Oh, Chad DeBall. Now that one was kind of hard to decipher. But yeah, so now we have Bubby. I honestly, I call my dog Bubby, and Lori might have ruined something else for me. But yeah, text between her and Chad, flirting with each other. Now, these became more frequent after the death of Chad, or death of Charles. One can only wish it was Chad instead of Charles. Anyway, but yeah, we also saw them talking about insurance policies. I'm very curious if it was self-defense. How did they expect to get some insurance? Lori said it was, I believe she said a spear through the heart, I wanna say. If it was a bullet through the heart, you know what? A spear through the heart is still kind of such a cruel statement considering the fact that we know how Charles ultimately passed away. Um, and then I believe Chad said something along the lines of, "Well, I wonder if he changed it before or after he knew," something about, like, he I wonder if he knew that he was going to ultimately, like, pass away with a bullet through his chest. And yeah, apparently that, sparked some audible gasps from the gallery, rightfully so. We also saw some texts between Lori's other family members, Janice, Barry, or I don't believe Barry was there, but Summer. Summer was trying to, I think, shelter her. I don't know if it was before or after. Like I said, I watch these things when I'm like at work, and sometimes I'm like, I don't know the timelines. Also, they did say that like these timelines were kind of hard to decipher because you have to get, I believe they had Lori's phone, Chad's phone, and Alex's phone, or some Alex's iCloud, I believe. Um, and they have to kind of splice these things together. So I'm kind of unsure of the timeline of these texts, but I believe at one point Summer was trying to hide her from certain people. Also, we saw that Alex or not Alex, sorry, Adam, her other brother, the one who tried to save Charles or help Charles out, got excommunicated from his entire family, disowned basically. Literally, him and his son, Zach Cox, got kicked out of the house. They got a screaming to by Janice. Janice said, "How dare you?" Lori called her very dramatic, but Lori, the fruit does not fall far from the tree. In this case, so yeah, lots of things of the family kind of knowing a little bit more, or support. It. I don't know if they really knew, but they did see this pattern with other family members before this, other partners of Lori before this. Um and it kind of seems like the family's MO. I am very surprised that at this point the whole family was not in Hawaii again. Although Summer was in New York, so maybe I don't know. Anyway, but we did see everybody on Lori's family being Team Lori, except for Adam and Zach. And it was just kind of heartbreaking to see that you know, Lori's manipulation goes pretty far, and people believed her in the very beginning. Um, I mean, obviously now short-lived. We don't know exactly what Janice said. I believe the last Janice was interviewed was in Sins of Our Mother on Netflix, and she said, "I will never say I know again," or something like that. But yeah, they did kind of have some responsibility in this case. They believed that Charles was a monster. Charles was this cheating, conniving monster. Listen, um, things may be closer than you imagine. In this case, um, what do they say? I'm trying to remember the phrase. I don't know. Look in the mirror, or have your daughter look in the mirror. I don't know. Anyway, um, but yeah, we also saw, like I said, some flirty text messages between Chad and Lori, and we saw the infamous loin fire texts. I was watching some live chats during this time, and some people were like, "I didn't know about these loin fire texts, and now I'm eating lunch and reading these, and I wish I didn't because I'm about to lose my lunch." Don't recommend that. I do want to go over these loin fire texts on this channel one day. Um, I just think they're so interesting. And also, I see a lot of similarities between Chad's texts and just Lori and Chad's like relationship in general, and certain pop culture references. Anyway, I believe at one point he said something about he was irrevocably in love with Lori or something like that, and I was like, that was literally a line from Twilight. Like Chad does not have a creative bone in his body. He literally opened the book of Twilight and was like, you know what? That one thing that Bella said to Edward, that's what I will say. Um, but yeah, so we saw those texts. We saw um just a lot of moments that I feel were damning. And a lot of people were relieved to see these texts, not because, they were happy to see them, but just for the fact that this kind of proves that Lori was expecting um, Charles's end on a certain day, and there was motive. And I think the jury finally will see that there was evidence of conspiracy, because I kind of have to think about it from a juror's perspective. For somebody like me who knows a lot about this case and who has seen the facts and believes and knows that, Lori is not innocent in this, um, I have to think about it through the lens of the jurors who don't know about Tylee and JJ and Tammy. Um, and just, could be looking at this and being like, I don't know. I don't really see it. I don't know. Like, it only takes one juror to acquit. And I was watching Web Sleuths the other day, and the host of Web Sleuths said, I have Casey Anthony PTSD. And I think that's the perfect description of what I was feeling. Now, I was not old enough to actually personally follow the Casey Anthony case in real time, but I have watched several videos about Casey Anthony, and one day I will go through the whole trial and just kind of look to see what's going on. But I honestly, like, just hearing that not guilty verdict and seeing Casey Anthony out and free today, and now on TikTok, apparently trying to be some sort of women empowerment type of person, is maddening, because we all know she's guilty. And also she just came out with a documentary trying to accuse her father of doing certain things and blah blah blah. But yeah, so we all have Casey Anthony PTSD. And while most people, I would say, I don't know the percentages, but a lot of people have said I've never seen somebody represent themselves and actually win. While there is a first for everything, I'm really hoping that Lori is not the first person to be acquitted by representing herself. Like I said, it only takes one juror. A lot of times in a case, I never want to say, if I'm watching a trial, I never want to say, I know exactly what the jury's thinking, because one, we can't see the jury. Two, I don't know. I'm kind of a hard to read person myself, so I can only imagine there's some jurors on there that, maybe they're freaking out inside, or maybe they're just calm, cool, and collected, and they have certain facial expressions that are convincing people of certain things. But yeah, who knows what the jury's thinking? Who knows until after this trial? Hopefully some of them will come out and give interviews on YouTube channels and stuff, and we'll be able to kind of hear what they're thinking about. But yeah, that's one of the concerning things. Where was this tangent, by the way? Oh yeah, so after Detective Duncan's testimony, and it was very long, it took all day, Lori crossed, and Lori, I think she kind of knew the clock was ticking, asked some very stupid questions. Basically, you know what? Actually, let me backtrack. Let me go back on that. I just kind of always assume Lori asked stupid questions, but she did kind of make a point at some. Like I said, don't listen. I'm not playing devil's advocate. I'm not trying to be one of those people who's like, oh, I love Lori. But I do think that she kind of brought up some interesting points that I'm asking myself. Like the fact that, why didn't Detective Duncan test the bat for blood? Now, she honestly, like, sometimes, like I said in the last video, I think that she sometimes tries to prove a point just to say she's right, not knowing what the consequences are. Because let's say that they did test the bat for blood, they luminoled it, right? Alex had 45 minutes to clean up the scene. They did luminol and found blood in certain areas. I think that would be a little bit more incriminating, for him at least. I mean, I do kind of get what the detective was saying. They said at the time they were not seeing this as they believed that this altercation happened. Charles was shot, and then 5 minutes later the police were called. They did not expect that it would took 47 minutes, I believe, for Alex to finally call the police and pretend like he's doing CPR. Sorry about that. Okay. But yeah. So listen, I get why with the information they had at the time, they wouldn't have tested certain things. I don't agree with the gun thing. I think Lori tried to say, like, why didn't you test the gun earlier? He said basically, like, they only test a gun if they know is the evidence going to trial, which I totally get, like resources. But um she was really being like, well, if you really thought this is homicide in the beginning, why didn't you test all this stuff? And honestly, that's my question too. Um, Now, I feel like that's more of a question for Detective Moffat, who was the original case agent, who we thought that he was going to actually testify today, but he ended up not, and I don't think Lori's going to call him. So, but yeah, my question: why didn't they just cover all their bases? A lot of times, and listen, I get that there's a lot of stuff we don't know, right? There's a lot of things to protocols and whatever that we're just not privy to, like woulda, coulda, shoulda, that kind of thing. Why couldn't they have covered all their bases? Why couldn't they have just looked a little bit longer? Now, this is kind of the bargaining. I think the bargaining stage of grief when it comes to this, um, where it's like, oh, like if somebody would have done something a little bit different, I think maybe the kids would still be alive, and Tammy would still be alive. So, but yeah, obviously we know that didn't happen, and here we are. Lori representing herself in court. Thankfully, it's televised so that everybody can watch it and just see how horrible of a person Lori is. Let me sit back up. Okay. All right. So yeah, we have that. Then she basically tried to say, like, you didn't do this. Also, she's really not hiding her testifying in her questions anymore. She's really trying to get all this information out. And I really do think that, like, the judge should have tried a little bit harder to strike certain things, because she was saying, like, you know, um I I can't think of it. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it. Like I said, words escape me right now. But she said something along the lines of, like, so you check this after this certain thing happened, or like she would call Adam her estranged brother, which I feel like is testifying. I don't know why they didn't object to that sooner. Um, Basically, we're taking her word for the fact that the whole. I mean, we kind of know that the whole family did estrange her, but I believe now Adam is in the family's good graces and might not be as estranged as people think, but yeah, I feel like she was testifying a lot. She was trying to get her testimony in without having to testify. Unfortunately, Lori, I think you might have to testify to get more out, because unless you have some sort of, like, mic drop moment on your closing statement, and from your opening statement, I don't think you will. Um, I don't think you have. The clock is ticking, and we're at the final hour. Sorry, excuse me. So yeah, I don't know. Um, oh yeah. So basically, and now I said I would backtrack. I believe I didn't say this yet. If I did, I'm so sorry. ADHD. But I think that, you know, as cold and calculating as Lori is, I could kind of believe that she's trying to, like, give herself more time. Now I don't think she knew, because it was the prosecution who brought up the fact that they wanted to wait until Monday. They didn't want to have closing statements on Friday and then the deliberation would be, on Monday, when things are not fresh in their mind. So, or sorry, did I say Friday? I meant Thursday. So I don't think Lori knew that they could wait a few more days. But I do think that when Judge Borowski was like, listen, if you say you rest in front of the jury, you cannot go back. I think she kind of got that idea in her head that, maybe if I have these 4 days, I can get Lonnie Dworkin, her star witness, who I did not know also did extractions for, like, digital extractions for the Jodi Arias case. So he's actually a well-known forensic analyst, digital forensic analyst. So, yeah, maybe she can get Lonnie Dworkin, and maybe somebody else, like her mother or sister, could, you know, be called to the stand. Maybe Zach Cox, I don't know. Um, she did say that Zach Cox would refute Adam's statements, and I don't really think that's the case, especially since, like, they labeled him dark, and we all know that anybody who's labeled dark is somebody who, you know, is a betrayer in their eyes, in Lori and Chad's eyes. So, I don't think, you know, Zach would say anything that would paint Lori in a good light. But you know what? I'd like to hear from him. Um, but yeah, so maybe she'll end up calling somebody else. I don't know. I really don't know how that works. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts. Um, excuse me. Okay, almost time to go to bed. It is 12:30. I think last time I said that at 12:30 at night. I'm a night owl, but I do have work tomorrow. Luckily, we have Friday off, um, because of Good Friday, um, and so I will get some rest then. Okay. Um, Now I don't know if I said this in this video or the last one. Like I said, there was a 10-minute video that I made beforehand, and then a bug jumped in my screen. I was literally like freaking out. And I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna have this be my reputation. And maybe I shouldn't have said that. And maybe I should have just started another video. Um, but I I really wonder what Lori's day is like. Like, I honestly, I don't know if I said this already. I'm so sorry if I did. You can leave if you want to. Um, but I want to know, like, oh yeah, yeah, okay. I don't think I said this because basically they had the whole Monday thing, right? They were like, maybe we'll do this on Monday. And then like Lori's like, well, can I please talk to my co-counsel? And they were like, okay, well, like, you know, we can give you time before so we can say like we're meeting at 10, and instead of us going into the courtroom at 10, we can go into the courtroom at 10:45, and then you can come in. And I believe that the so I don't know what the case is for Lori, but usually what happens is when people go to court and they're coming from a jail, they all come in to the courtroom at the same exact time, no matter what time the person is called in. So let's say Lori, her trial's at 10. If somebody has to go into court at 7 in the morning, she has to wake up at 5 in the morning, get ready, eat breakfast, get all her notes, go to the courthouse, and then wait there. Now, I don't know if they probably have some sort of like holding cell or something like that. Like, I really don't know if she's like put in a room. Like, how does she wait in the van? Like, again, the only prison, like, the only prison, like, not experience, because I've never gone to prison. The only prison knowledge I have, of prison in the US is like Orange is the New Black, and I know that, like, you know, several inaccuracies. And also like Prison Talk, that was a big thing back in, like, I don't know, 2015. But yeah, I a lot of times, like, when they transport people, they don't really care that, you need to go to the bathroom, or like can't be shackled. You need to look at your notes before trial. So a lot of times it's just a lot of waiting. Like, maybe she is waiting in the van until um she has to go. Maybe there's some sort of holding room or holding cell. I don't know if she's even allowed to talk to her co-counsel um until she gets into the courtroom. Um Sometimes it does kind of seem like that's the case. Um and I really, like, not because I care about Lori or I care about the conditions she's in, but more so I'm just curious, like, what time does she have to wake up? I think she said 5 in the morning. Like, so what is her day like? Does she go to the courthouse? Does she have to wait? Also, I was curious, like, they break for an hour and 30 minutes usually during lunch. Um, and everybody goes and gets their meals and stuff like that. Like, obviously they don't take Lori back to the jail to get her food. So does she have to bring a lunch? Like, does she get, like, a sack lunch or, like, I don't know, does her co-counsel, like, buy her lunch? Does she get to eat Chick-fil-A? I'm sure she would enjoy that. But yeah, I'm just really curious, like, 'cause, like, once she gets back to the jail in her cell, like, she obviously has to review all the stuff that the prosecution is reviewing, the defense would be reviewing if they were, if she actually had effective counsel. So, she's probably burning the midnight oil as we speak. But, you know, if she needs to say something, like, when does she get to call her co-counsel? You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, I know that she had an iPad in you know what? I think she does have an iPad in Maricopa, so maybe she gets this chat with them. I don't know how that works. Oh my god, excuse me. Okay. So yeah, that's just a curiosity. Like, day in the life of Lori Vallow-Daybell. I'm sure she would just say, I don't wake up because, I'm translated, so I just kind of rest my eyes for 8 hours and then pretend to wake up, so that the jail doesn't know I'm translated, and then I don't eat breakfast, again because 'cause I'm translated. I also don't brush my teeth or take a shower because because 'cause I'm translated. So I do my hair, fix it up, say my morning prayers, go into my portal, talk to Chad, um, also, say goodbye to Tylee, JJ, and Tammy because, they're my besties. They visit me all the time. Go to the prison, kill it in court, and then leave, go back home and do the same thing all over again. I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. It's just one of those things. I don't know. Like I said, this is why it's called the deep dive. I want to deep dive into the day in the life of Lori Vallow-Daybell. And we'll probably never know unless she like somehow gets an interview. I'm suspecting because we had that really impromptu interview with Arizona family. I'm really suspecting that she might have another interview after this verdict. I don't know how much she can do before the sentencing. So maybe she might be on a um what is it called? A gag order after the verdict. Sometimes that happens. Um but who knows? Who knows? And then we're up for the next trial. We're up for Brandon Boudreaux's. And I don't know if they will bring these like up sooner. I know and I is the prosecutor also Trina K? I think so because they did do motions to talk about that during the trial. I can only assume. Also too, I'm curious as to like, how exhausting how exhausted Lori Vallow-Daybell looked and defeated at some points in this trial. Um, I'm really wondering if she will represent herself in the second trial. I'm I'm almost suspecting that like she is like, you know what, this is not what I thought it would be. Let me get another co-counsel on. Because again, I'm just very surprised that she's rested. It almost seems like she's given up a little bit. Um, you just kind of tell, like I said, she's trying to get all these little things out there, trying to plant little seeds of doubt in the juror's mind by testifying when she's not supposed to. Objection, testifying. I think like how many times can Trina K say objection, testifying? Um, like I said, I'm surprised and also glad that Lori has not testified or no objected several times because um a lot of us have John Pryor PTSD. Also, I'm just now realizing, first of all, John Pryor got away with a lot. And now again, different judge, different state, different courtroom, little bit of different rules. But he would testify after like he would say stuff, right? Like the most infamous one is when he asked Garth Daybell what he got for his mom um the night she passed away. And he said, "Oh, something about McDonald's, right? Quarter pounder with cheese." And he's like, "Well, that's a healthy meal." That's testifying. First of all, why is John Pryor getting away with it and Lori Vallow's not? I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, different courtroom, different judge. Maybe it was objected to. I'm just not remembering. Like I said, like there's so much to these trials that I sometimes I just forget the details. But yeah, that's just one of those things. Also, I'm just so tired of like Lori. Lori's like she has this like MO of like when she talks and when she's like lying or when she's trying to get something across, she'll kind of like mumble a little bit. She'll be like, "Oh, like like this time that I was going to," and it's just very much like, okay, you have a tell. You have it. I mean, she has so many tells, obviously, um, but that's one of those tells where it's like every time you talk like this, you're trying to like bring things up, you know. Again, you're trying to testify, and then it's just very clear. It's very clear. Um, what else? Again, like I said, this was mostly just a video to react to the fact that trial could be ending pretty soon. Like I said, we expected this trial to go on for, I believe, 6 weeks, 5 at the least. And now we're here on week 2, not even fully into week 2. We're supposed to have another day. I believe the hearings or the jury hearing or jury rules meeting is only for the prosecution and defense and the judge. Like, I don't think it's televised. But yeah, like week 2. This might just be a two-parter. I mean, we do have the Brandon Boudreaux trial, and it's one of those things where people say, like, we're tired of this. We're just tired of hearing about Lori and Chad and blah, blah, blah. And I get it. I get it. Especially for the families, it's probably exhausting. But, we pushed through Charles's trial, and, hopefully there's a good outcome. And I think, a lot of us are just, wanting to also be there for Brandon as well. Now, one thing that infuriates me, and I'm like almost watching back on like certain videos will pop up, and I'm just like, how is Melanie Boudreaux not being prosecuted for at least the attempted unaliving of Brandon? She knew a lot. She like a lot of her text messages, like it was clear that she knew things. And as far as I know, I don't think she got any immunity. I could be wrong. Maybe she did. Um, and I'm almost wondering if maybe they used Lori to kind of test the waters, and maybe there might be means to try Chad. Um, I honestly don't believe that because, like, he's on death row already, and might cost the state a lot of money. Not to mention, too, like at the end of the day, the police did botch this investigation, but I'm almost wondering if maybe if she's convicted for Brandon Boudreaux, I wonder if Melanie could be like next. I don't know. I'm hoping. I mean, I really don't think that Melanie should have any um any visitation with her kids. I don't know if she has any custody or whatever, but like just the fact that she was gonna pick them up from work or pick them up from school. Thankfully, Brandon Boudreaux, like saw what was going on and like, picked them up early and then went into hiding. But, I feel like her kids were next. Her kids were at least 2 of them labeled dark and going to get the same fate as Tylee and JJ. And she was just nonchalant. There's that word. Nonchalant about everything. And then tried to, interview and say, like, I didn't really know anything about this. Girl, you were you were like Lori's mini me. Like, really. Like, you were going down the same path. And yeah, anyway, so I'm really hoping that maybe something will come out of this. Also, I was thinking about this, and this is just we're going off on a tangent now. Could there be okay, listen. The reason why they investigated Charles's death was because of the kids, right? When they found the kids and then Tammy. They were like, okay, obviously it's not coincidence. And I know that the police have said, I believe Detective Ray Hermosillo said, we looked twice into Alex's death. And his autopsy said natural causes. I feel like there could be grounds to investigate. Now, listen, Alex, I don't know, like, if it, because Alex is such a criminal and horrible person. I don't think anybody cares about getting justice for him in particular, but I really think that Zulema at least Zulema knows more about what happened to Alex. And I would really love to have somebody convicted for that. Again, not because I care at all about justice for Alex, just because I think that that might open the door to more people being prosecuted. Zulema, Melanie, the other Melanie. I also think that maybe if they look into Alex's death, they might be able to look into Joe Ryan's death. And now this is something that I did not know. Because like I said, I'm bad with dates. I for some reason was under the impression that Joe Ryan died like way before like way before even like Lori was married to Charles. But it was a very like I would say within the year that Thalia passed away. I say passed away just because of YouTube rules. We all know she didn't just pass away. But I did not know it was so close to Charles's. And I'm almost like I said, if they investigate Alex's and they're like, there's something weird. Like they said it was natural causes. And they did say Joe Ryan's was natural causes as well. I'm almost wondering if maybe they could like open up that investigation, because I know that his sister, Annie Cushing's, is petitioning, to have his trial or his death looked into. I also thought it was a very sad detail. Annie mentioned this in, I believe, last or yesterday's video, that around the same time their mother, who was not talking to them, estranged from them, passed away same year as, or so she notified, she looked up their mom, notified Joe on Facebook that their mom was shown as passed away. I believe she was homeless in New York. And then that was around the same moment that she believed that at that point Joe Ryan was also dead. And then just, within the year or year after, or I would say even more, I don't know, Thalia, ultimately ended. And just like 3 generations of Ryans, just ended, just gone. And just like the goosebump, or what is it, like the spine tingling, like thought of that, that is just so, like sometimes life is just cruel. Sometimes that's just, I don't know. But yeah, anyway, just going off that tangent, I just remember that detail from a video that I watched yesterday. I also came across a video of Tammy at her school. I think we should watch that one day. I don't want to watch that right now because I feel like that's kind of very off the scope, but it was just kind of nice. I don't know, personally, because I was in, like I mentioned in the last video, I was in a coercive controlling relationship, and you could definitely tell there's moments, especially, okay, so going off on another tangent, that part where Chad said that, he said that he had a vision that Tammy's grandmother was coming back and came to him and said, "Can you tell Tammy to get off that damn phone and do her family history work?" Right? Because Tammy was obsessed with Farmville. It was either Farmville or Frontierville. Okay. And now listen, I have a similar story, and maybe I shouldn't go into this right now, but I will, because I like I said, tangents. Okay. My significant other, my ex-significant other, I would not dissociate, but like there's just moments where you're in a relationship and you're like, it's just, you don't know it's bad, but your body and your mind knows it's bad, right? Like you think this is normal. And there's just moments where you need to rest. You need to do something for yourself. And the person you're with just takes all of that joy away from everything. So you try to find joy in the little things. And my joy was literally playing, I believe, Roller Coaster Tycoon on my phone. I remember we were like traveling, and I don't know, he was mad about something, and I was just like, okay, like let me check and Roller Coaster Tycoon was something you had to that you had to follow in real time. Like if you kind of forgot about it, like all your little guests of your theme park sorry, my back hurts, like, um, would get mad, and then, you get bad ratings, and of course, I didn't want that to happen, so I was just, like, winding down at the end of the day. I was supposed to be doing something, and when I say supposed to, it's more like my ex wanted me to do something, and I just, I, like, again, didn't have the mental or physical capacity to do it. Um, so I was playing my game, and he got mad at me. And this is like like I used to play The Sims, and he would get mad at me for playing The Sims, and it was just like one of those things where it's like, I just want to like it was just like, there's always more important things to do than playing games apparently, and I just remember being like just loving the moments I had by myself, escaping and playing games, and I remember the fact that Tammy Daybell, we can take a little bit of solace in knowing that the day or the night that she passed away, she was playing Frontierville on her phone at 10 o'clock, which is probably assuming that Chad was not in the room because, Chad would not approve of that. And that Tammy got her little wind down moment. And that is something that always sticks with me. And I think so. I saw a comment on somebody's video and they say, I miss Tammy and I don't even know her. And I think that now I don't know if we'd be friends. Like I'm not LDS. I have very different viewpoints of life. But we all know a Tammy. Maybe we were Tammy. And I think that's kind of where the comment got to me. Where it was like, I miss Tammy. I saw this video, like I said, this video popped up on my YouTube feed, and it was just a video of her dancing with her teacher friends. And I used to be a teacher too. And I, just seeing her be like cool, fun, and silly. And I also love the detail that, like, the visit she had with her family before she passed away, they had this little like talent show where she was clogging and they were just laughing. And I don't know, it just seemed like the same dynamic between me and my sister and my family, where it's just like, oh, like, sometimes it's just fun to be a little bit silly. And I don't know, I could see that with Tammy. Um, and I do miss her. I miss her, and I never even knew her. And that's just a line that I saw today, and I was just like, man, I need to go through this video. I maybe want to do like a little tribute to her at one point. Maybe after all this, like, Lori stuff is done, because it's just a waste. I mean, everything was a waste. I obviously not saying one death is more tragic than the other. But yeah, I thought about that today when I saw that video. And it was just kind of a nice little like tidbit to get, especially when you're watching trial day in and day out. And now I'm not saying that as in like, oh, poor me, like I'm watching this trial. I don't have to. Like I don't get any sort of, what is it, like money or, hold on, let me take a drink and think. I don't get any sort of benefit other than the fact that I'm curious and I want to know, like, I want to know about people. That's I think the main reason why I became I have a degree in philosophy and religious studies. It wasn't even just like the religion part. It was more so that I just want to know how humanity thinks, because like, you know, as somebody who's like neurodivergent, I a lot of the time feel like an alien or like, I don't know. I like to observe. Um so yeah, anyway, like I like, you know, I don't want to say I like too. I watch a lot of true crime because I want to know why, the whys and hows. Um, and it could be mundane, not mundane. Sorry, that was the wrong word. Scratch that. Sorry, motion to strike. Okay. Um, it could be exhausting at times. Just thinking about all these people affected by these crimes. And so every once in a while, you'll just come across a video like this one. It was just a random video of Tammy Daybell dancing with her friends at work. And we know that these people were like some of the people that sounded the alarms in the beginning, being like, this is not right. Like, like we don't believe that she just died of natural causes. Like these people had her back, and just seeing her like happy and, you know, having this moment of silliness, um, with her coworkers. It just and I remember too, like, being like that. I was a teacher the same time that I was with my ex, and you just put yourself into your work, and you see, like, you I was best friends with my coworkers. Like, to this day, I still talk to some of them. And yeah, like, it's just one of those things where it's like, these people are your family. I know that's kinda like a dumb thing to say when it comes to workplaces, but just seeing her dancing with her real family, the people that actually cared about her, um, it was just like a nice little moment. Um, and again, sad in the same time, because like I said, I saw that comment of, "I don't know Tammy, but I miss her," and I feel the same way. But yeah, we're off on like, we were talking about Lori Vallow-Daybell and how she rested, and now we're talking about Tammy. But I don't know. That's just how, like I said, casual, casual. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I would probably do a recap of the whole trial. I need to go back and kind of collect my thoughts about that, because I don't really. I know that there was like some location and like other stuff. Like, I don't know. There was just a lot. This was a very information heavy, because most of the actually all of the most or all of the people um who were on the stand were like law enforcement or scientists or medical examiners. So it's like there was just a lot of information. Um and when you're kind of half paying attention, you might miss certain things. So yeah, I need to go back and collect my thoughts, and then maybe I'll do like a little recap. Um like I said, I also do want to talk about the Delphi case. I actually, it was crazy. So this is crazy, but like, I had a great conversation with a patron who came into my work the other day, and we were talking about small towns, because I live in a small town, and we were talking about safety and safety as a woman, and I mentioned the Delphi case, and we just got talking. They were like, I just watched that Dateline episode, and like we were just talking about the whole aspect of it. And um I don't know, like I said, like, that's another reason why I enjoy true crime, is because I feel like it helps me connect with people. And um we just connected and talked about it, and then we started talking about Daybell, and then but yeah, so I want to talk about the Delphi case a little bit. I want to go through Richard Allen's um the stuff that was just released, Richard Allen's confessions, as well as his interrogation videos. um I just Yeah, like I said, the perks of having a small channel, like, with 0 subscribers at this point, just 'cause I just started, so, is the fact that I don't think I'll get as much scrutiny as other people. Like, there's certain, um, YouTube channels who've reported on this case and just, like, gotten a lot of backlash, and I have opinions about this case, and I obviously, like, I don't want to start by burning bridges now, but, you know I don't know, there's just things that I wanna talk about, because this case was very important to me. And this case was actually how I discovered the Daybell case again. Like I said, I was watching Lauren from Hidden True Crime, her recap every single day on trial for the Delphi case, and then, as I was waiting for more Delphi information to come out, I was like, "Oh, wait, they started with the Daybell case. Let me just go start from the beginning," and I just, this hooked me. This hooked me and my entire family. So yeah. Anyway, at this point, I'm rambling. Um, I don't know. Like I said, I'm a little discombobulated. There was a lot of snafus. Like I said, that bug. Um, Again, if you're from Texas, if you know, you know. Especially places that are like humid and hot. I, I don't know, and that just kind of got me. Also, just the fact that I kind of forgot what I was gonna say like halfway through, or if I already said it. Like I said, I could be rambling for an hour. Um, but yeah, also, we have a long weekend. It's Easter. If any of you celebrate Easter, happy Easter. Um, I'll probably hopefully do a video before that, but if I don't, happy Easter to you. Um, like I said, it's kind of weird to have, like, the Easter holiday, and then right after that, the Lori Vallow-Daybell trial verdict thing, possible verdict. I don't think the verdict will happen. And then we'll see with the Brandon Boudreaux case, where things will go. Um, Gosh, I have a feeling that after this, listen, I don't feel tired. I don't feel exhausted. I feel more curious to look at details that I maybe didn't look at, um, before this, or maybe, like, kind of oversaw. I do want to rewatch the Chad Daybell trial, and I guess I will listen to the Lori trial. Like I said, I just didn't really. It's different when there's audio. Also, the Chad Daybell trial, like, okay, listen, this is a qualm I have. Why is it that Lori's, like, I know that there's only one pool camera, and it was in the same. Okay, this is in the same exact courthouse as the Jodi Arias trial. Jodi Arias was her trial was in the room across from where Lori's room is. They filmed it. Obviously, they didn't. I don't know if they had YouTube back then, but, like, I don't know where they would have live streamed it. Probably on, like, local news or something. Their camera quality is so good. Like, you can see all the expressions on Jodi's face. Like, and I know that maybe, like, the camera's in different position because, like, the camera in Lori's case has to be behind everybody. So maybe, there's that. But it's just like, man, how is this quality to all these, like, trials back in, like, the early 2000s and the 90s so good? And then Lori's trial and Chad's trial was horrible. Like, you could barely see any sort of expression, like, on his face. Like, I need to probably watch that on the big screen because I'm like, I was watching on my phone and I did not see anything. Like, at this point, it could have just been me listening to it. But yeah, I'm like, how did they get such good quality? Like, I'm sure there's something to do with the fact that, you know, pull camera and whatever. But also too, I'm like, sometimes I'll see, like, people's recaps of the trial, and mostly, like, major news networks, and they'll use footage from the trial, and it's so good. I'm like, do they use, like, AI to touch it up or something? I'm like, this quality is so good. But then when I watch it on my phone, like, on live stream, it's just, you know, it's not, like, super pixelated like Chad's is, but it's, I kind of wish it was a little bit better. Anyway, but yeah, I need to watch both trials again, and then I want to kind of dive into other, maybe rewatch the Casey Anthony case. I also know that there's a lot of cases going on. I think there's talk of, there's Brian Koberger and the Gilgo Beach killer Rex Heuermann. We also have the disappearance of Emily Pike. Emily Pike is still missing, and not missing, sorry. Her murderer is still at large. So there's going to be updates on that. There's also the Suzanne Simpson case. This case happened very close to home in San Antonio. And then we have apparently an apparent serial unaliver, and I keep using the word, but forget. I don't know. I don't even know if it makes a difference. In Austin, Texas, again, another place that's close to home. And I'm like, what is happening here? Now we did have a little talk about this again at work. Like I said, I don't even work in a space where people can talk about crime. Like, like, some people are like, oh, talk about crime at work because, I work at a courthouse or whatever. No, like, I literally work in a place where most of the time crime would not be talked about. But I just end up, like, talking to those random people about it. And we were talking about this case out of Austin, Texas, and just the fact that, you hear a lot of times about, young males disappearing and being found in bodies of water, and just kind of like the correlation and, like, what could cause it. Anyway, that was interesting. Not interesting as in, like, ooh, like, great. It was more like interesting. But yeah, so there's that. I don't know. I just, like I said, this channel's more of like a brain dump. It's kind of the conversations I would have with people after I talk their ears off about true crime. Because let me give you a little tidbit about myself. I'm not much of a talker. I'm what you would consider to be like shy, I guess. Um, I'm not very social, but if you get me talking about crime, I will talk your ear off. I will get into the case. And if you surface level, just, I watched the Netflix documentary, I will bring up every single point and every single thing. Like, we're not going to speculate here. We're going to figure out the facts. Uh, so yeah, I don't know. This is just a moment for me to kind of process my thoughts about certain things. So yeah, today was the last, I guess the last not court day, trial day. I don't know. The day before opening statements, which or closing statements of the Lori Vallow-Daybell trial for the murder of Charles Vallow. And we will have closing statements hopefully on Monday. Maybe Lori will decide not to rest, and then we will have deliberation. I honestly, with how fast this trial went, I kind of feel like deliberation might be like a day or two. Like I said, we thought that this trial was going to end up going for 6 weeks, and then now we're here on week 2 or 1.75. I don't know. Um, and yeah, maybe the jury will surprise us and give us a verdict pretty quickly. Now, I really hope that she's found guilty. And now, Lori, I'll use your line, the evidence will show. I believe with all the evidence we have now, the evidence has shown that Lori Vallow-Daybell is guilty. And I'm putting that out into the ether in hopes that that is true in a few days. Because I believe the evidence was so damning today. Like I said, it was just like one of those things. I will have more later on in my recap when I have more notes. But yeah. Anyway, I don't think I'm missing anything. Now I'm just talking to talk because I'm like, oh, I don't want to go to sleep now. I'm putting it off. Okay. I have like that. What is it like when you have sleep, but you don't like sleep procrastination, something like that. But yeah, feel free, like I said, if you enjoyed this video to subscribe, like, comment, whatever you want to do. I'm not, not your mother. I'm not telling you what to do. Hopefully I'll be a little bit less awkward in the next video. Like I said, I was just a little discombobulated with that bug, and I did not expect to actually go on camera today. But yeah, I'm just having my nightly cup of tea, and by the way, it's turmeric chai vitality by Yogi. So good. I love that they have little fortunes on the tag. This one says, "Find your unity and your service to all," which you know what? Okay, great. Okay, cool. That was kind of telling. Like I said, I work in public service. I had a great conversation with people in my community, and it just, like every single day when I meet people, like I said, I'm an introvert, but when I meet people, I'm just so curious as to like how people think in general, and it's been great. Like I said, true crime has brought me closer to humanity, and I think we can kind of, I believe Lauren Matthias said that John Matthias, it's like that Michael Scott quote. It's like Michael Scott quoting this person. Lauren Matthias said that a better understanding of true crime is a better understanding of ourselves, and I believe that that is something that I live by. We're not talking about crime just to, be kind of, what is it called? Like sensationalist. We're not talking about crime to be, man, words escape me. What is that word? It's like where you're trying to shock people. I don't know. We're not trying to do it to get some sort of reaction out of people. Or at least when I say we, I mean me. And I think a lot of you guys too. We're doing this because every single time we learn a clue about crime, because when you think about humanity in terms of how old the world is, it is very small. So one more step into understanding why criminals act the way they do is another step into preventing these types of crimes, into understanding how people think and act and what we can do. in order to stop these crimes from happening again. So that's what I will end with. And yeah, like I said, I will see you later this weekend. Weekend. We'll see. Um, and I hope you'll have a great night, evening, morning, wherever y'all are. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.